Hey guys, Mike, Twin Circle Farm. Just a quick video recap, kind of giving you an update. When we moved in, this barn was already set up as a horse barn. It had been unused for a number of years. There were some rubber mats down the center. We used it for everything. You see, we started some calves in here. When it was cold, we brought the pigs in the back part of the barn. While we were building all the fencing and the pens and the shelters, this was the catch-all. It had this old room. I guess it had a wood floor in it at some point that had just rotted out and collapsed. So I had a vision that we would turn this room into an insulated room, mouse-proof it as best we could, add another water spigot in the room. Eventually this would be our feed room. We could mount a small hot water heater on the wall and have hot water even in the winter into the wash bay. Planning it all out, we kind of saw it happening over time. We didn't have the money to do everything. First things first, we got a call that we had some horses coming. A great gift from a very good friend of ours. If we were going to be out here all the time, we wanted it cleaned up. If we're going to get it cleaned up, eventually maybe pour concrete, at least get the rubber mats laid out smooth. We wanted to get all of the digging and groundwork out of the way. Got it all done, put in a good bed of rock, washed everything down, cobwebs, dirt, dust. It really didn't take much, just water. We wanted it to be somewhere where the horses were comfortable. This is their house. You don't want a bunch of dust and outdoor mess. It's dangerous. It's unhealthy for the horses to breathe. So we had to be able to clean this thing, keep it clean, and not be walking on mud. And those rubber mats, that was probably some kind of old conveyor belt, very thick, very heavy pieces. So fast forward almost a year later, and a friend of mine, who's probably one of the best concrete workers, he owns his own company, him and his dad, came up with a deal to trade for some equipment. So we couldn't afford the concrete on its own, but we had some equipment we weren't using that they wanted. Struck a deal, started getting the room ready. Insulated around the outside of the concrete pad that we're going to pour in that insulated room. Double checked our level. We picked a second office room. We call this the fence room. It's really our pass through to get to behind the barn, where we store all of the fence equipment and tools. So checking grade, knowing what he was going to pour, we just wanted a slight tilt towards the outside of the barn. This could be converted back to a stall with a concrete floor in it. So we wanted it to drain out rather than put a drain in this floor. You'll notice in the feed room we actually put in drains. Kids got a good little lesson. Showed them how to run a laser, how to kind of eyeball what's level. And meanwhile, life goes on.
Can't feel my arms anymore.
But you can see that we've made the improvements, they've lasted. it's just one step at a time. Can't always afford to do everything at once. Now, the good thing for us is we had bought most of the materials for this room, and then some of it was left over from other projects. To be able to do this wasn't going to cost us a sudden out-of-pocket expense. One of the reasons why it's good to hoard supplies. Look at the price of everything right now. We'll wind up putting a beadboard around these walls, some OSB on the ceiling, and trim it off with some cedar. If we had to go buy that now, it would have been 3 times the cost of when I bought this, and just put it aside in a safe place, out of the weather. So my buddy showed up with his full crew. Like I said, this is a professional company. There's nobody better. Yates Concrete. Anybody can pour concrete. Finishing is the trick. I can pour concrete. I'll be honest, I can't finish. Brian was born in concrete. I always joke that he literally born and fell right back into a yard of concrete. Second generation, just has the touch. We don't want anything overly aggressive. There's 2 drains. There's a main floor drain, and there's a drain over by the new spigot. They both just lead out the barn, just in case we have an oopsie in there. And there's going to be water in the room. Make sure you got a drain. Didn't want a smooth surface. Don't want anybody slip and fall. He did a good job of finishing out for us, pitching everything to the drains properly and giving us a nice small broom finish, very light. It's a lot of work moving concrete around and bending over, and concrete guys and roofers and flooring guys, knees and backs. We almost had a little oopsie while we were working on the second room, the fence room. The chickens decided to come and check out our work. Almost walked on that fresh concrete before we got finished. Again, the goal is just to make it cleaner, easier to maneuver around. Dirt floors are fine. Rock floors are fine. But I can sweep concrete. We can wash that off. Protects whatever's sitting on it. You don't have to worry about moisture coming up through the ground at it. It's bad, and concrete will still draw moisture. The finish work is excellent. Time and attention. Like I said, it's a good thing we had a barter going, because this is worth it. Just couldn't afford it right now. Here's that light broom finish. Just a nice light broom, enough to give you traction. It'll wear down over time, but it's still sweepable. It's not that coarse, heavy broom finish like you see on a sidewalk. Makes it look easy. The moral of the story for us has always been, have your plan and try to get it done. At least make logical steps that can be followed up on. Everything we'd done a year ago set us up for this. We always keep on hand scraps. Pink insulation we used was leftover pieces. Literally, this project was done without ever going to the store. We finished it. All of the items had already been purchased once. The rest were leftovers that we had laying around. Planned ahead, just didn't know when we'd actually get it done. Decided to block the chickens out just while we wait for it to finish setting. Huge thanks. Those guys did awesome. Next day, come out, start setting wiring. Got to put this front wall in. Decided, we're building with wood, but just one more layer of protection. We decided to use flashing around the bottom of the walls, touching the concrete. Make it just a little bit harder for mice to dig through. Laid in all the wiring, probably went a little bit overkill on the lights. Getting older, wearing glasses to read. Like to have light. Framed the door just for a 36. Got a secret on that, I'll tell you in a minute. Had to notch the headboard up there, but no big deal. I had already previously run a circuit. I got to finish getting all the wires up. Had to pull some stuff down and rearrange a few things. Using a metal clad wire where it's exposed so no animals chew through it or scratch it or nothing nicks into it, get pushed and pulled. Like I said, the ceiling is just a 1/2-inch OSB that we had. This is some leftover Roxel. I love Roxel insulation. It's a mineral wool. Really good at, I think it's R15 and 2x4s. They've got a sound deadening fireproof product also. Basically the same product. It's an awesome product. No paper backing, doesn't get fiberglass all over you. You cut it with a big knife. Squeeze fit in the bays. Ran out of that, wound up having to chop up some fiberglass that we had. So R11, maybe 13, maybe. Probably R11. Went with the beadboard paneling for the walls. It's not as easy as drywall to cut out for your outlets. Used to working with drywall. And it's a barn. Everything's not perfectly level or plumb, squared off. Opted not to paint. We have some leftover paint stuff, but just decided to leave it. Insulated the walls, and then came back and insulated the rafters. Adding some 1/2-inch plywood, 3/4-inch plywood, whatever we had scrap left over to make a lid on top of the room over the insulation so animals don't burrow in there. T111 1/2-inch siding for the exterior. Can be washed, could be painted. Now, the neat thing about having used the barn for a year, knowing we were planning on eventually making this room, is we kind of got adjusted to what we wanted the room to be. We knew what we needed to store, like to have a little bit of electrical on the wall down that far, put a GFCI on the outside. Wanted to have somewhere in case it's freezing cold, we could still work with wet stuff. Gave it drains, indoor spigot. Found this door. If you're ever looking around, I went with 36. It's a pretty standard exterior door. So when you're going to stores, the big box stores, there's a lot of times that you'll see doors stacked up over on ProDesk. If you pay attention, those are returns sometimes. This was a $700 custom door, steel, exterior, insulated door. I think I paid $130 for it. Had a dent and ding, was rejected as a custom order. We lucked out. Saw cut the grooves. That little saw is a Milwaukee battery-powered saw. Used it a couple times in this project, including fixing a little drainway. But here it is. A little dusty in there right now. Just to take you back, it was a dirt floor with wood on it. Now for the rest of this barn's life, it's a professional feed room.
Look forward to seeing you guys organize it.
Insulated, secure, got water in it. We could do some plumbing. Add a hot and cold spigot into the wash bay, a hot and cold spigot out the front. Sky's the limit.